Good morning. I am Westchester County District Attorney Miriam Rocah. As many of you know, Danroy Henry Jr., known as DJ, was killed on October 17, 2010, when officers shot at Henry's moving vehicle. He was 20 years old and a student at Pace University. We are joined here today by his parents, Angela Henry and Danroy Henry Sr. As many of you also know, Kenneth Chamberlain Sr., a 68-year-old former U.S. Marine who suffered from mental illness, was shot and killed in his home on November 19, 2011, following a confrontation with White Plains police after police responded to an accidental medical alert. At points during the confrontation, Mr. Chamberlain possessed a knife. Kenneth Chamberlain Jr., son of Kenneth Chamberlain Sr., is with us here today as well. In the months following these two incidents, the Henry and Chamberlain shootings were reviewed by prosecutors from this office, who ultimately presented evidence and witnesses to grand juries, whose role was to determine whether the evidence was sufficient to support the criminal charges that prosecutors presented. In both cases, the grand juries declined to return indictments, and the proceedings were automatically sealed by the court. For the families of Kenneth Chamberlain and DJ Henry, the pain of their loss has not gone away over the past 10 years, nor have the questions they have about why their loved ones were killed. The Chamberlain and Henry families and many members of the Westchester community have asked me to review the circumstances of the shootings, the investigation and charging decisions by the DA's office, and the grand jury's decision not to return indictments in either case. And today I am announcing that I will do just that. These reviews of the Henry and Chamberlain cases will be conducted internally by designated assistant district attorneys and investigators whom I have selected for this task. I am also very pleased to announce that we will be assisted in this review by an independent team of pro bono attorneys led by former federal judge John Gleason. Judge Gleason is a Debevoise and Plimpton partner who previously served as a U.S. District Judge in the Eastern District of New York, and who was also a federal prosecutor. Judge Gleason's record as a federal judge has earned him widely held respect and a reputation for fairness and integrity, which I got to see firsthand when I served as a law clerk for him many years ago. The team also includes Debevoise and Plimpton counsel Douglas S. Zolkin, a former federal public corruption prosecutor from the Southern District of New York, and associates from the Debevoise firm. Judge Gleason and Mr. Zolkin have been sworn in as special assistant district attorneys for purposes of the review. We are so pleased to have Judge Gleason, Mr. Zolkin, and their associates here with us today as well. Now, some may ask, why look backwards? And the reason is simple. Today, we have appropriately higher expectations for scrutiny of police encounters with mentally ill and unarmed people, and for prosecutors' responses to such incidents. The Henry and Chamberlain families and our community have felt strongly that further independent review is needed to heal the open wounds from these shootings. It is in that spirit that this review will be undertaken. But I want to be very clear. While I have chosen to conduct this review, I am in no way prejudging the outcome of the review. At this point, I cannot say one way or the other whether any further action should be taken. But I can say that further action beyond the review will only be taken if the facts and the law warrant it. And I will make the final determination on what, if any, further action is appropriate. There is no set timetable for completion of this review process. Because we are at the beginning of the review process, and because of grand jury secrecy rules, I am limited in how much I can say publicly. However, we know the importance of maintaining the public's trust, and believe that announcing the commencement of our review publicly is the best way to proceed. I will now ask Judge Gleason to say a few words.
Well, thank you, District Attorney Rocah. This is a very important review that you've directed. Good for you for doing it. It's a privilege for which we thank you to become a part of it. Now more than ever, there's hardly a more important public interest than transparency in criminal justice. This review you've directed is at the heart of what's important in that regard today in our country, in this county. And I promise you and the families and the people of Westchester County an independent, impartial review of the circumstances of these shootings, of the presentations of the cases. I will provide to you and to your staff, I and my colleagues at Debevoise will provide to you and your staff our honest assessment of the circumstances of the shootings, the presentations that were made after the shootings occurred, so that you can make decisions that best serve the people of Westchester County. Again, kudos to you for directing this review. Thank you for allowing us to be privileged to be a part of it. And we look forward to following the facts and providing you the advice that we hope you'll need to make the correct decision as to how, if at all, to proceed after this investigation is over. Thank you again. And let me, before I step to the side, invite Mr. Chamberlain to the podium to address the press.
Good morning. My name is Kenneth Chamberlain, Jr. I am a co-founder of the Westchester Coalition for Police Reform. This coalition was founded in 2012 after the 2011 killing of my father, Kenneth Chamberlain Sr. The purpose of our coalition is to basically build trust between law enforcement and the communities that they serve. The rule of law says that the government, its agents and officials are to be held to the same set of rules that enables a fair and functioning society. But for families like mine and most black and brown families, when it comes to extrajudicial killings and summary executions of our loved ones, we are kind of fed the same statement out of the same playbook. If I may paraphrase, after an exhaustive investigation, the grand jury has concluded that there isn't sufficient enough evidence to charge the police officer in the killing of, you add the name, DJ Henry, Kenneth Chamberlain Sr., and the list goes on. But we are definitely pleased today that the matter is under review by the Westchester County District Attorney's Office, and we are hopeful that this time around, 10 years later, that there will finally be some type of accountability in the killing of our loved ones. So I want to again thank the Westchester County District Attorney's Office for taking this step, because it is a big step. And it is a step towards effecting positive change. It is a step towards building trust between law enforcement and the communities that they serve. So again, thank you to the DA's office. And I will now turn this over to Mr. Dan Henry, father of DJ Henry.
Thank you. This is a moment that we have been waiting for some time. So we thank Judge Gleason, we thank the DA in her office for doing essentially what's right. Our family, from the very beginning, simply asked for a truthful account of why our son's life was taken. We didn't rush to his defense. We simply said, what is the absolute truth? And does it support, by rule of law, his taking? The unlawful taking of a human life is by definition murder. What we asked for then, we think we're getting now. A fair review of the facts. And if those facts lead to a conclusion that supports the killing of our son, then we'll still have to live with that. We've been dealing with that for the last 10 years. We'll have to deal with that in the future. But if they do not, then we would hope that the person responsible and those responsible for aiding and abetting that the effort to cover up the illegality, that they'll be held accountable, rightly so. So again, we appreciate the courage of this office. We appreciate the thoughtful process that we put in place to ensure objectivity. And on behalf of myself, my wife Angela, our son Kyle, our daughter Amber, and our son DJ, we ask that you support this objectively. What is there to fear in a simple review? If there's nothing to be found, there's nothing to fear. So thank you.
Thank you. In closing, I want to again thank Kenneth Chamberlain Jr., Angela and Jan Henry, Judge Gleason, Mr. Zolkin, and their associates for joining us today and for being part of this process. I also want to say again, frustrating though it is, because we are at the beginning of this review process and because of grand jury secrecy rules, we are very limited in how much we can say publicly here or after this announcement. In addition, I want to remind everyone that there is no set timetable for completion of the review process. We chose to make this announcement today because we know the importance of maintaining the public's trust, and we believe that letting you know about the commencement of our review was the best way to proceed and the right thing